Hello, good evening everyone, and welcome to Cuppa with a Key Worker from Church Army. I'm Neil Thompson, I'm Head of Communications for Church Army, and together with my colleagues Will and Isaac, we will be hosting tonight's live stream for you. Tonight is the second of our new quarterly live streams, and tonight we have an Irish theme to the projects we're going to hear about. We also welcome a host presenter, Isaac Hanna, to the studio in his first time hosting, and he'll introduce himself a little more in a moment. As usual, if you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, you can interact with us by commenting, and the team will see your comments. We'll pop some of your questions on screen, and hopefully we'll have some time to answer your questions. So why not comment now? Say hello and tell us where you are and where you're tuning in from. It's always very encouraging to see how far and wide people are watching from. If you're here for the first time, then welcome to you. If you want to be able to comment from Facebook, you need to give StreamYard, which is our broadcast platform, permission to work with your Facebook account. And we'll stick up a link on screen to show you how to do that. So I'd like you to invite you to take a break from whatever's going on around you. Put aside all the things in the news and sit back, grab a cuppa and hear some good news about some of the great work Church Army is doing. And to tell you more about what we have in store tonight, I'm going to hand over to Isaac Hanna, who's going to tell you more. Isaac, welcome to Cuppa with a Key Worker.
Thank you, Neil. It's great to be here, and thank you for your introduction as well. As Neil said, I'm Isaac Hanna. I'm responsible for the ministry development here on the island of Ireland. So that involves my role as mission development officer, creating new centres of mission, recruiting new evangelists, and generally promoting the work of Church Army on the island. Currently, we have 5 centres of mission, with the potential that that's going to double within the next couple of years. So we're seeing phenomenal growth with one project, the Zacchaeus project, which is also under my remit as well. Tonight we're going to be chatting to 3 of our evangelists, Lawrence Ballou and Scott Mcdonald, who are both based in Newry Centre of Mission, and also Alan Williamson, who is lead evangelist in our Sligo Centre of Mission, 2 geographically different places and different jurisdictions. Newry's in Northern Ireland, whereas the Sligo one is obviously in the Republic. You can see there in the map. So we have centres of mission all across the island at the moment, with a bias towards the Republic, I have to say. But you know, we're an all Ireland mission organisation, and proudly so. So anyway, I'm going to welcome the first of our 3 contributors, and that's Lawrence and Scott, who are joining me from Newry Centre of Mission. So hi, you guys. It's great to have you here, and been able to share something of the great news. And I'm sure this is a fantastic opportunity for us all to you tell some good news stories, get the word out. And also, if any of our supporters are there, just to say thank you so much for your prayers and for other ways that you support our centres of mission. So anyway, I'm going to just, by way of introduction, point out that Scott here is, I think you took up position first in the Centre of Mission, and then Lawrence was recruited later on. So do you want to say a wee bit about the Centre of Mission and what you're about just at the moment?
Yeah, well, thank you, Isaac, and good evening, everyone. As Isaac has said, my name is Scott McDonald. The accent is a West Country accent, born in Cheltenham. I've lived in Northern Ireland since the early 90s. And prior to that, I worked as a Church Army evangelist in Newcastle upon Tyne. Presently, I am the rector of 2 parishes in Newry. Newry is a wonderful small city on the border, equidistant between Belfast and Dublin. It's a busy city. It's a very young city. This average age or the biggest demographic group would be 30 and under. And so it's a city with great potential. And I'm the lead evangelist of the Centre of Mission, and I look after 2 parishes, St. Patrick's and St. Mary's, full of good people. And really, we're very fortunate to have a good cross-section across the generations as well, and some good people helping out and keeping the church alive and active. We're coming out of the pandemic, and we are getting on with the busy life of 2 parishes, and also venturing out into the city through the Centre of Mission. One of the good things about being a rector and a church army officer, evangelist, is that I can keep evangelism really in the DNA of the church, keep it on the agenda. In all the preaching, the Bible studies, and all the things that we do, to make sure that we're always outward looking. And recently we've just started a new venture, which is called Prayer at the Gates. This is to just meet with people as they're passing by and offering prayer. Just a simple thing, to see our gates actually as welcoming rather than as things which will keep people out. And although this is a fairly new venture, hasn't been going very long, people have been stopping and talking and actually asking for prayer. And so this is really encouraging. We've also been concerned about starting home meetings where our volunteers can come along and learn a little bit about what it really means to have this idea in reality of disciples making disciples. And that's something which has been going very well in the last few months. What's important in the starting point of it all is that personal relationship with the Lord, and wanting to share the good news of sins forgiven, of new life in Jesus, of a sense of self-worth, that God loves us, and that sharing his good news, his love with others. And so that's at the heart of the home group, and we're hoping to start others as well. And one venture that we're thinking about, praying towards, is to actually take over a residential, a retail property in the heart of a residential area, in order to launch out in the compassion ministry of the Centre of Mission. So acts of love and generosity and service go alongside what we say about the love of God. And so we're really praying. We think we've identified the ideal premises, but it's a question now of putting together finances and so on in order to be able to move forward with that. And so we're really excited to have this Centre of Mission here in Newry, especially with all the work that Lawrence is doing. And he can introduce himself now and say something about the work that's the very exciting work in meeting so many people outside of the boundaries of the church. So I'll hand you over to Lawrence now.
Yeah, well, good evening, everybody. My name is Lawrence, as was mentioned. I'm the pioneer evangelist for the Newry Centre Mission. And I think I was interviewed, it would have been this time last year. And I suppose we're sharing my dreams. And I suppose over the last year, it's been so exciting to see what God has been doing, the doors that he's been opening in the community. For example, I had mentioned last year that one of the things God had put on our heart as a Centre of Mission was that Newry was voted second worst place to raise children in the UK after London. And we really wanted just to get out and make connections with kids and with young people to speak value into their lives. And God has opened so many doors in the schools. In the last year, we've managed to be in 10 schools. So the breakdown of that is one high school, which I'll be in every week in their SU, in the Scripps Union. So I'm in there every week. I've started mentoring some pupils as well. But also in the 9 primary schools, and that's kind of varied. I've been taking assemblies. I've been doing a fitness program with nearly 1,000 kids across the primary schools. Been even in schools just speaking value over them, taking workshops, and even working alongside another local ministry called Love for Life, doing talks about relationships and a relationship with ourselves, and just so blessed by the doors that God has opened, even so far. And we started a kids gym, a kids and youth gym, and with those connections, we have over 60 kids that are registered and over 50 coming regularly. And my wife and some other volunteers from the two churches help, and we've just it's just become a real lovely community where parents are so thankful for just this place the kids can come that's safe, where they hear just healthy messages about looking after their heart, physically, emotionally, but also spiritually. And it's been exciting. I mentioned last year as well about this thing that God put on my heart, a Jesus thing movement, where we didn't want to preach a Catholic thing or a Protestant thing or any other kind of thing. It was a Jesus thing. And in January we released our first single, which was called Coming Home, which you might have seen on the Centre of Mission page, and Will had put a really good piece together for the Church Army website. And we recorded a music video around Newry where Scott, our lead evangelist, who you just met, he started it as a granddad who was really just struggling in life, was bereaved, and he was brought back to faith by his granddaughter. And just this kind of reverse prodigal story of God's love and God's goodness and his grace, and how we really want to raise kids as disciples as well. We don't see them as the next generation. They're very much church of today as well. So we want to invest in their lives and in kids and young people. And as Scott said, one of the prayers would be for this retail unit, but also we want to launch a youth church in September. So we'd really appreciate prayers for that, and just guidance in that, and how we set that up. And we really want the young people to be involved in leading it as well, to release them in the ministry, and so they can discover their gift as well. We don't want to take control. We want to just release them in freedom, just to go and reach their generation. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff happening.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. There definitely is. It's really interesting about, the standout thing for me is how complementary your two roles are. Scott, you're very much the permission giver, the person that's opening doors for Lawrence. Not that it sounds as if they're not that hard to open. Lawrence, I love the idea of you planting a new church or worship and congregation in September, and definitely that's something that I think the majority of folks that are tuning in tonight would be really encouraged by. From a personal standpoint, I know Newry quite well because I grew up just down the road from it, and absolutely we're so in Church Army Ireland, we're so delighted that you two men are God's placed you where you're at right now. Just picking up on I suppose a theme that's come through our presentation this evening. Is there any particular challenges that I know you've talked about the historic nature of Newry and the name that it has? Is there any particular challenges that you might want to highlight this evening that you've worked through?
Well, we both represent the local Church of Ireland community. But as Lawrence has said, the Jesus thing is not about one particular part of the community. It's for everyone. And interestingly, both of our church parishes have very imposing gates. And so the idea of actually getting beyond the gates into from a minority community into the majority, and we'll talk in Northern Ireland terms, these things are important. The Protestant community would be less than 5% of the population of Newry, and so we really need to get beyond our gates, beyond our buildings, and the challenge is to see how that can happen, and to with wisdom and sensitivity reach out across denominational boundaries. And the way the gates happened, I think, was God opening our eyes to something. A few weeks ago, we had a wonderful day, a gospel concert on a Saturday evening when the church was full and when there was a lot of buzz going on. And yet outside of the church, there was this young man who was obviously someone who was sleeping rough, and he was walking around some grass in our grounds in bare feet. And I just asked him what he was doing, and he said, well, I'm just washing my feet on the damp grass. Is that okay? And I said, well, that's okay, but do you need anything? And he said, no, I don't need anything. But then he thought for a minute and said, perhaps a prayer. And so I said, I'll pray for you. What's your name? And he said his name was Damien. And so I said, Damien, I'll pray for you. And this was happening right at the church gates. It was almost God saying, just do something, step out in faith and go in confidence that you have in the gospel. And as I prayed for him, his eyes just welled up with tears. And I felt this was a sign that to actually say to the gates, to see them as an open invitation, not things which are closed to keep people out, but are opened to welcome people in. And so the challenge is to do more and more things like that, sensitive, but spirit-led.
Thank you. I suppose the same question could be directed to Lawrence, but I'm going to switch it around a wee bit and say, what's been a real, well, that's both a challenge, but it turned into an encouragement. And has that been kind of a theme, in your ministry out there thus far, which is actually quite new. I think the Centre of Mission was launched, was it within the last 2 years? I seem to think it was launched during COVID, which was a big enough challenge. and now we've gone into a sort of a recession as well. But Lawrence, any challenge that's turned into something that's been a real encouragement for you?
I think just even, like I said, we've started running the kids and youth gym, which has kind of been seeing fruit from the school stuff. A big challenge has been, I suppose, managing our own expectations and my own, and being patient, trusting God's timing, because, well, what we need to really realize is we don't want a microwaved kind of faith. It has to be a marinated kind of thing, where we put our roots down deep. And yes, I've been in so many schools and we've gone wide, but there's also this sense that we need to go deep as well. And with that becomes you needing to be patient. And, I would love to be running so many more programs, but we've got to, make sure that we're not burning out ourselves, but also with volunteers. And I suppose a challenge is post-COVID, getting people back and volunteering. And as we're only establishing ourselves as a Centre of Mission in a brand new city, I just moved down last year. I got married in September in Newry and we bought a house. So I'm kind of, on this journey in a brand new city, in a new culture, just married. But actually getting to do this journey with my new wife is incredible, and just how God has been able to use us together. My wife's now training as a lay reader in the Church of Ireland, and we tag team a lot of events. So I would lead worship and she would speak and things like that. And I suppose the challenge was that I was kind of called. We really felt called in Newry. But at the start, it was, if I think back to last year when I was interviewed, while I was sharing exciting dreams, I was full of anxiety and just scared of this new challenge. But now, as I look back over the year and reflect, and just seeing what God has done, has been exciting to see some of these dreams come to fruition, and even us starting this gym. And while I would love programs, every other night, it's just managing that expectation. But even the importance of then partnering with other organizations has been so key, because, well, that opens up different doors as well. You see I'm wearing another bright top. And one of the, this is one of the football teams that I coach locally. It's the Molly FC, and it's sponsored by the Centre of Mission. Compassion Newry for the Centre of Mission, and that's just been one of the ways I've been able to make connections and meet kids and young people and parents and coaches. And it's just this kind of saying, we don't need to do it all ourselves. Let's trust God, yes, in His timing, but let's partner and make connections, and let's just not try and do it all ourselves in our own strength. It's just trusting God. And we've seen, even as I said, from the gym and the connections that we've made in schools, just that when we do that, He does great things.
Thank you very much. And you've 1 minute left to say. Obviously, I think there'll be so many, including myself, are so encouraged by what you've both shared this evening. One thing that what we all could do to encourage you in each day, what would that be?
Well, the simple answer, and of course the only real answer, is to remember us in prayer, because God works through the prayers of His people. And in our prayers, we're asking God to speak to us, to open up the way in front of us, and to give us the courage and the wisdom to take opportunities that are in front of us. So to pray that we actually can see what God is doing and join in would be really good, Isaac.
Yeah. Lawrence, I see Lawrence nodding there in agreement. Listen, guys, it's been really good having you here this evening, and we're going to be joined now by Alan, who is coming to us live from Sligo. And Alan, it's great to see you.
Good to see you.
And Alan was sharing with me earlier that it was raining in his part of Sligo. So
it is, shockingly. If you hear the rain, it's beating the roof above us at the moment.
So, and I think he sent. I'm on the eastern part of Ireland, the island of Ireland, and Alan's on the west. So normally the rain blows from the west to the east. So thank you very much for that blessing. But anyway, Alan, it's great to have you here this evening. Sligo Centre of Mission's been in existence now since 2017, I think.
That's right, September 2017.
And could you just share with the folks here this evening that maybe aren't? I know this isn't your first time, but could you share something of what you're about in Sligo Centre of Mission, and give us a bit of a flavour for the place and the people?
Sure, no problem. I've got some pictures, I think, hopefully, and oh, look at that! Look at the style. There we go. You can skip on. We don't need the title slide, at least. So as Isaac was saying, Sligo Centre of Mission is on the west coast. It was number 3 on the map that they showed earlier on, and we've been there we are, number 3, right up there near the coast in the northwest. And as Isaac rightly says, the weather comes across us before it gets anywhere else. And our Centre of Mission has had some transition. The last time I did Cuppa with a key worker we were based in Drumcliff, and last September we transitioned into Sligo Town, and we've been based in a space on Mail Coach Road in Sligo Town since we got the keys in September. So there was lots of cleaning up and tidying up and scrubbing and fixing up to be done. Mail Coach Road is named after, as it sounds, the mail coach when it brought the news to Sligo once upon a time in the past. And I think there's something a little bit prophetic about us being on Mail Coach Road as a body who want to bring the good news of Jesus in Sligo Town. So we're based in the town, just outside the town centre, and it's a really nice, vibrant, lively community to be part of. So yeah, we moved in, and we did lots of cleaning, lots of sorting, and if we want to flick on the slides there, Will, there we go. We had been homeless for a little while, just with COVID and everything else. As some of you may know, COVID regulations in the Republic of Ireland went on a bit longer. And so we had been homeless for a while. We haven't been together. And getting into this space was just such a blessing. Our Centre of Mission had done lots of work in the past, but the thing that we were taking into town was our new worshiping community, which is called Recenter. We like to recenter people around God. And so from that, we got into our centre, and we got set up, and we got opened on the 1st of October last year. So it's been such a good thing to have somewhere to be present in, to be in a community, to have somewhere to work out of, and it's just been so good for us. You can see, Charlotte, we did some stuff around Christmas right out onto the street front. We actually have the shop window, so it's amazing what you can do in that space. Our work has, in terms of worshiping community, has been very much focused around kids, and it's just been amazing. We moved into the building in Mailcoach Road with a kind of a community of 12, and we probably worship there most Sundays now with 20 plus. About a third of our people that we regularly connect with are kids, and a whole variety of kids with lots of beautiful diversity amongst them all as well. So we've had a really good time. We run a kids drop-in, we do Sunday kids work, we do some family stuff, and then we kind of do the high days and holidays and special event stuff as well through the year. So it's just been such a good way just to see kids and young people just really growing in faith. And it's just been amazing to see how one brings another. And yeah, we've had such good fun. We have our probably youngest member that we see regularly is 3, and she's in the midst of everything. And we've got some teenagers. We'll actually have probably teenage work coming in next year as well. So it's so good. It's been a really good year to make the best of that space and to be able to share faith and encourage one another. I think the idea of building a worshiping community in Sligo has it requires investment in people and growth. And as the community has grown, it's reaching further and further and further. So it's been really good. I think as well, we like to do things in different ways. We have a lot of hands-on stuff. I think, Will, there's some pictures there with the Veggie Men, and we worked with the youth department to do some digital Christmas stuff with some of the local schools and stuff. There's an iPad floating around in there. And so it's just been a real blessing to be able to kind of find creative and different ways of sharing faith. And I suppose one of the real blessings that happened this year, a huge number of Ukrainian refugees have moved into Sligo. They're based in one of the big residential spaces outside of town. And so we did some Easter stuff with the community there. And it's just been a really good way to get to know some of them and to help people settle as they've been coming into the town. And to share some faith and some hope. We use some of the prayer trail stuff. And it was just really good for some of our own kids and young people to actually work and share and almost be mini evangelists in the midst of all of that. So we had great fun with them around Easter time this year. It's been food's a really important part of life with us. We eat a lot. We have 2 takeaways, one either side of us. We've got a Chinese at one side and a chip shop on the other. Some of the best chips in Sligo. And so food and gathering has been a real driving force between us as a worshiping community. And so we host lots of things for different people, and cooking and food is just and hospitality is so good. And we run a kids drop-in. We want to run a mum's drop-in. We've been working with our local. There's a food bank just down the road on one side, and there's a family centre on the other. So we're going to try and pioneer some more sort of young family stuff coming into the autumn time. So as I said, food's important, prayer is important. We did 24 hours of prayer coming around to Easter time recently, and it was at a time in the town where we had some difficult days, and there have been 2 quite tragic murders in the town. And when we planned this, we hadn't really anticipated that. But it was just amazing how God's provision worked in terms of what we were doing in terms of prayer space, and just allowing an opportunity for people to really to pour out some grief, but also to hold the town in prayer. And it was just a really blessed thing. It wasn't what we planned, but it turned into something that was just really powerful and encouraging people to take time out and take space, and to just be with God in the midst of what was quite a difficult time in our town. I suppose we also reach out. We work in the community in lots of different ways. I'm one of the local drama groups where you see me in my dressing gown. We worked with some of the Mothers Union people in terms of our Easter things. They knitted and did all sorts of things, and that really encouraged that community. I think it's been good for us to build relationships with the traditional church in our place, and they have become real advocates for us and really helpful. And we are encouraging them to serve, and they encourage us by supporting us in the things that we do. So there's lots of different links into our local community in the town. It's a fairly diverse town, economically, racially, and as Scott was saying about Newry, I mean, we are, as the Church of Ireland community, a very, very small minority, about 2% of the county. So it's a unique situation that we inhabit. So community's been good. Recenter as a worshipping community has really taken off. As I say, we started with a wee gang of 8. We have about 40, and we see about 20 plus most weekends. And that's just been such a real blessing to see God at work in the lives of people, and to see a vibrancy in the people that we connect with, often people who have relationship in some way with one another. And it's amazing how one brings another, and how just that sort of relational evangelism that works so well and so powerfully in our culture actually works itself out in the place. So that's been a real encouragement for us. The other thing I think that's been a real encouragement has just been part of my work, which is that I work for the training team for half the week. So there's Marion and Dylan in the middle of the day. Marion's finished her training. She works in Ballina, and Dylan, her son, who's still with us in training. But also in terms of encouraging evangelists and evangelism, we run Envoy. Our worshipping community was birthed out of a pilot for Envoy. And so we're trying to raise up a new group of evangelists through that as a coaching program, and Faith Empowered as well. And we partner. I kind of feel like God's doing something in our place around the spokes of the wheel, and there are lots of spokes, and we sort of sit in the middle of things and kind of connect one big person to the other. Not that we do everything, but we kind of make those connections. And so there's been real opportunities in terms of working in schools, in terms of using Alpha as a way of working with ecumenically with our Roman Catholic neighbours, working with some of the charismatic prayer groups, working with Youth for Christ and OM Ireland. We have somebody with us a couple of days a week from OM Ireland, and that's been such an encouragement in terms of the work as well. So it's just been a real blessing, and it has its challenges, Isaac, as you well know.
It's but I think that's life and ministry. But I think one of the significant observations that I see there is, and it really links with your last slide, and it's that the Centre of Mission has created a kind of as you say, like a hub for other partnerships to really manifest themselves, and where you become the conduit for being able to link resources to places of need. I suppose again, I asked Scott and Lawrence the same thing. What could those out listening in this evening do to encourage you or make your life a wee bit more easier every day? what would you say in response to that?
Well, yes, there is prayer. We do really value prayer in terms of our place, and just in terms of our relationships. I think that is key. I'm only 2.5 days a week in the Centre of Mission, and so Kiana is going to be a couple of days a week with us, hopefully going forward, but that's still not really enough to meet the need that we have. So we pray for people and volunteers around that. That's a huge thing for us. And I think also around finance, I think there's a real sense of we were homeless, and when you've been homeless, you appreciate home. And so for us, gathering up funding for the new year in terms of our building's important. So our lease goes to the end of September. We as a community have raised about 3 months of the next year's rent, but we still have about $8,000 to go. So we need financial support and help that helps with all those things as well. And that ensures home for another year. So those are key things for us, I think.
Well, listen, thank you so much for sharing that. A lot of people have been intrigued with the fact that you're juggling all sorts of responsibilities, not least lead evangelist in the Centre of Mission, but also, and this will be an encouragement, I think, for folks listening in from Ireland and beyond, that you're now the conduit for training on the island of Ireland, so that Irish evangelists, are able to receive contextually, earthed training that's has an Irish flavour to it, but it's Church Army themed. Do you want to say just a wee bit about that there, and about how that this has been rolled out in the wider Church of Ireland?
Yeah, surely. Yeah, I have my title's always, I think, regional training lead for training in the Church of Ireland. I think for Church Army, I think that it's a huge title. I don't really, but our work in terms of training has sort of merged with some of the visions around of what the Church of Ireland are trying to do in terms of pioneer ministry. So some of what we will be doing and are doing currently, but will be doing more of, is helping the Church of Ireland in terms of training pioneers and giving them some of the skill sets to pioneer new worshipping communities on the island. And that relationship is sort of well developed, I think, at this stage. So I go to Sheffield currently and teach on the evangelist course in Sheffield. So about every 8 weeks, I'm off to Sheffield, and then I look after the Irish evangelists on the island in between those times. So there's currently 3 Irish evangelists in training and 3 more beginning in September. So that'll be 6. So that's really exciting, and really exciting for the island, I think.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like the Church of Ireland has really stepped up in terms of partnership with Church Army and us with them, in the sense that that their last us or General Synod, they endorsed the work of Church Army, and particularly creating this new training pathway for anybody that's interested in pioneer evangelism on the island. And Alan's at the heart of that, as are all of our lead and pioneer evangelists across the island. So it's really, really encouraging.
Absolutely.
And certainly as the person that's responsible for creating and sustaining centres of mission, it's absolutely amazing that we now have 5 centres of mission plus the Zacchaeus project. There is every likelihood that we could potentially have a centre of mission in all of the 11 dioceses across this nation, and maybe more than one centre of mission. So that is just amazing, and we're so excited here about the potential of all of that, and how we move forward together. So again, we just in closing, we've kind of come to the end, and I want to just thank all of our contributors. I want to thank Alan, and I've already thanked Scott and Lawrence for what they've said. But we are, as you know, a charity who have now a status that is all Ireland. We were recently recognised as being an Indigenous Irish charity in the Republic, which I see as a really helpful thing, and an acknowledgement of just our place in Ireland, but also Northern Ireland, UK-based charity as well. And I want to just say to everybody that's tuning in this evening, thank you for standing with us in prayer and giving of your time, and promoting the work of Church Army, and giving financially, because here's the thing, and we have seen unprecedented growth in terms of our work here in Ireland, and that momentum is going to continue for the next few years. So we really need your support at this time. We need every aspect of what that support means. Prayer is fundamental, finance, and if there's someone out there that would consider working with us or volunteering with us, we would love to hear from you. and we would love you to be part of what God is doing. And that's, ultimately sharing our faith, fulfilling the DARE strategy to do evangelism, advocate, resource, and enable it as well. And our centres of mission are core to that strategy being achieved here. We have so much to be encouraged by here on the island of Ireland, and I want to just thank you for that. And key to that is that we're seeing people coming to faith in Christ who we all love and serve, and that is the reason that we do what we do, and we couldn't do it without the Holy Spirit and without Christ's encouragement and enabling in partnership with all of our supporters. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I'm going to now hand over to Neil again, I think. So it's been great sharing this time with you. Thank you. Hello, Neil.
Hello, thank you, Isaac, and thank you to Alan, Scott, and Lawrence for your input tonight. Thank you for tuning in. We are back with you in September, so if you'd like to join us again to hear more about our work across the rest of the UK, then please join us in September. I'm just about to put the date on screen. It'll be the 14th, and we look forward to seeing you there. So until next time, good night for now, and thank you for watching.